The statement you make is profound for many reasons, because when South Africa joined the BRICS, the chorus was that South Africa was not a worthy member of the BRICS. First, in terms of the size of its economy. Secondly, the size of its population. Thirdly, because of its growth prospects. And here you are proclaiming that South Africa actually offers the best growth prospects for your company going forward. How is that?
When you look at the international marketplace, a lot of our business was done predominantly in the U.S. marketplace, where as much as 80% of the aircraft sales, business aircraft sales, was in the U.S. As that market has transitioned over the last 5 years, that has shifted to where as much as 60 to 70% of the new aircraft sales are international markets. As any global company, we're looking at the BRIC countries, so Brazil, Russia, India, and China. But we've taken a strategy on with Africa and the Middle East. So we're very comfortable doing business in Africa. South Africa as a whole has been a very sophisticated marketplace from the position that customers buying aircraft here can have a turnkey solution, very much so like they have in Europe and in the U.S. marketplace. So right. We see South Africa as the gatekeeper for Africa, and we see the growth prospects in Africa as good or better in some cases in some of the other BRIC countries. And I'll give you a great example, Godfrey. You look at the consumer marketplace. The U.S. is the biggest consumer marketplace in the world. But if you look at Africa, it outgrew Russia and India in 2008 from the point of view that the households that went out and bought consumer goods, they bought more in Africa than they did in Russia and India. And Russia and India right now are two of our strongest marketplaces. So we don't underestimate or undermine Africa at all.
So, in essence, this is the story of emerging markets. Let's begin, first of all, by looking at the South African prospects and exclude perhaps the African continent. In South Africa itself, where do you see the drivers?
In South Africa itself, we see a number of different drivers. We're very fortunate that we have a very broad stable. Hawker Beechcraft represents two very specific brands, and we segmented the brands over the last 2 years. So Hawker are our jets, Beechcraft are our turboprops. And during the downturn and after the financial crisis, we were very fortunate that our Beechcraft brand, which consists of the King Air brand and King Air platform, we were able to sell to governments throughout Africa, not only here in South Africa, but throughout the continent. So we're very fortunate we can sell to commercial end users, so the entrepreneurs that want to expand in Africa, but also we see opportunity in the government sector too.
Okay, so let's talk to the continent then. So we do know that South Africa sits at the bottom of the continent, and of course South Africa is the gateway, if you like, to the rest of the African continent. In terms of the economies themselves across Africa, where is that growth coming from? Is it oil-rich Angola, or could it be the copper belt in Zambia, or are we talking Nigeria here?
It's Nigeria, it's Angola, it's Kenya.
It's the resources.
It's the resources, and again, we've done business in Africa for 60 years, so we're very comfortable doing business in these outlying regions. But what's exciting about Africa now, we find a number of our South African customers looking to expand into Africa and the intertrade within the continent. So in order to do that, they need to travel to places that don't have the access with airlines, certainly don't have the access with railroad and roads. So they used our aircraft as platforms to enable them to do business better and to be more competitive.
And in terms of the government sector, do you also see that demand coming through? Because we're now suddenly, after many years in which governments did essentially what they liked, we're getting civil society and we're getting political parties that are more aware of their rights and keeping a very, very close eye on what government officials are spending. Do you anticipate any kind of demand coming out of the government sector?
We do, because again, what's very precious to Africa is resources. Sure. So our company airplanes and our corporate airplanes, more so on the Beechcraft side, protect Africa's resources at a very cost-effective way. And what I mean by that is the fishery and the marine patrol within the African continent is very precious. And our airplanes can loiter or fly for up to 7 hours on the continent and to protect the South African fishery with marine patrol, which is one example. And the government sector has always got to look after their borders as well. Sure. So we offer platforms which are referred to as special mission, but we provide the aircraft to where companies can provide the equipment so that governments like South Africa and governments throughout Africa can protect their natural resources.
Yeah, you're not mentioning international agencies as well. Do they come into play at all? Do they provide the transport that is required to get their programs moving across the continent?
What we're seeing is a lot of multinational companies coming down into Africa, a lot of European companies. We're also seeing a lot of European charter companies for the first time coming into Africa because they see a lot of opportunity here.
And In terms of growing your business on the Hawker side, how is that moving and where is that demand coming from?
The Hawker side, the demand is coming from South Africa, but also Nigeria. Because if you look at where Nigeria is on the continent, it's one stop for our airplanes from South Africa to Europe. And they typically will stop in Nigeria and then move up to London. For Nigerian customers, they are non-stop to Europe. And we offer, again, a very cost-effective way of doing that because our price point on our airplanes are not quite as much as some of the bigger and larger aircraft that can do the same mission.
Yeah. Are you seeing any kind of price pressures, particularly given the competition that we've been seeing coming into Africa from regions including Asia and including, of course, South America? We do know there are manufacturing capabilities there.
We've reduced our production to the level of activity, and fortunately we have a great international business because, again, we've been doing business internationally for a very long time, but what we're doing to bolster that business here in Africa is we're improving our customer support because service sells airplanes, and when you look at marketplaces, especially like Nigeria, we're building, in partnership with ExecuJet, we're putting a service center in Lagos so that our customers can have the same quality of service that they have in Europe or in North America. So we feel that our competitive position will be much stronger than our competition because we're focusing on making sure those airplanes are as reliable and as durable as the customers expect.
Yeah. Now you're talking about the growth coming out of countries including Nigeria, and they've got some interesting stats here. 50% of your business turbine aircraft in Africa are in South Africa. Do you foresee a stage in the future where that equation is going to change?
I do, and it's very similar to what we talked about briefly about how the transition went from the U.S. marketplace to the international marketplace. South Africa is a very sophisticated business aircraft environment for an owner to buy an airplane because you've got great charter operations, there's great insurance, there's great financing institutions in South Africa, but all of those institutions, the insurance, the financing, and the operators all want to do business in Africa because they see the potential growth there. So like the U.S. manufacturers and Hawker Beechcraft, they're going to be forced to do business up in the continent. But I do believe the majority of the aircraft business population, like the U.S., will still be based here in South Africa.
How big can Nigeria become?
You know, Nigeria's always been a big market for us, Hawker Beechcraft. We've had business there for 40 years that dates back to British aerospace. We've got some very good customers in Nigeria that operate our aircraft. And, you know, the opportunity there is as good as some of the other international marketplaces we're looking at.